we're all part of the same organization, and we utilize a lot of the talent in those institutions and connect with them to bring technology to the commercial sector to help companies become more profitable and globally competitive. So if we can't find the talent necessarily within the institutions, we also utilize tried and proven providers that have been very successful with our clients over the years. One of the things that makes us different from a lot of other consultants that are out there, because that's kind of what we do, is that we literally get rated, graded, and funded on our success with the companies that we work with. We get some federal funding and state funding, and our federal funding provider has a survey, an independent survey, where they contact clients directly after we finish the project to find out if we did a good job, did your sales go up, did you hire more people, and we literally get rated on those metrics to remain a center in good standing with our federal sponsors. So we're a little bit different there. So after we help companies with assessments and training, when they run into their first real-world problems on the production floor or out in the field, they call us and we'll help them get through that and really learn to operationalize what we have helped them with. And so that's really what makes us different than a lot of consultants that are out there today. So, excuse me. So, just to give you an idea, as you see here, we have 4 main areas of services that we help companies with: lean systems, growth services, energy services, quality systems. And today we're kind of looking at the growth services. We're helping companies today, where what we're going to talk about today is sales and growth and how to really capitalize on the marketplace with the products that you offer and the services you offer. So we also have an export portion of our gross sales that's been very popular. We've actually gotten national recognition on that. And our lean systems, helping companies be more efficient within their 4 walls. It's been very successful. So we've got a lot of great success stories. And on the back table, you'll find some brochures that you're welcome to help yourself to during or after the presentation today regarding some of those successes, including the economic impact that we've had in the state, along with some brochures of upcoming events that we've got coming down the pike that may be of interest to you as well. So, getting on with where we're going today, understanding sales with Mike Hepner. Mike is one of the very talented providers that we've worked with, and he really helps you get a feel for an understanding of what works in the field regarding sales. And that's what we like about him. We're all about how to make it happen where the rubber meets the road, no matter what service area that we're into. That's kind of our philosophy, how to make it happen and operationalize it so it'll be successful for you. Now, Mike has got quite a pedigree. He's worked with folks like Zig Ziglar and Norman Vincent Peale and Dennis Wade. He's spoken internationally to audiences as large as 75,000. So he's an experienced sales guy, been doing it for 30 years now, Mike. He doesn't look that old, but at any rate, I think you'll find he's got some valuable nuggets of information that might be useful to you, that'll be great takeaway items of value that you can utilize in your workday every day. And that's kind of what we're shooting for here, and he'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we can look at down the road as well, possibly even having a full-day seminar that we're looking at, because we're starting to get feedback from a lot of our clients that we've helped increase their capacity, and now they're saying, well, now that I have this capacity, I can make all these widgets a lot more price or cost effectively. Help me with my growth. I want to sell more. And so that's kind of how this has all evolved over the years. So we're looking at practical ways to help make that happen for you guys, so that you can be more effective in what you do and helping your company grow with your sales initiatives. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mike Hepner, and again, feel free to ask questions during this. We're very informal. And if you get calls during the course of this, we're okay with that. Just take them outside if there are important calls that you need to take. The restrooms are out the door to the left as well. And feel free to grab a water or whatever else you need during the presentation as well. So we're pretty informal and open to any questions or issues that you want to bring up during the course of the event as well. So Mike.
There you go. Cool. Good. Yeah. I know it's always hard after the lunch, isn't it? Well, first of all, I really want to thank NVIE and Terry and his team for inviting me out and making me part of this event, giving me an opportunity to share with you what sales is really all about. And I enjoyed meeting each of you just briefly, but I wanted to let you know more than anything, and this is the first thing, is that usually when we hear the word sales, it doesn't usually conjure up anything real positive. At least from what I found out, well, in fact, it actually deals more with the salesperson themselves, and we'll get into that. I think we'll probably end up dispelling a few myths about what sales is, the fact if you can or can't do it, or how that works, because not all of you are maybe in a sales position where your title is sales, so you think, well, I don't know that's important to me, but you know, there was something, maybe I need to teach somebody else about this. I think you'll find by the time I'm done that this is something you can incorporate in your life, and that you'll have a different view as to what sales actually is. Because I know I've got a range of people here that are in sales, that may be C-level, that may be more in a project manager type of state. So I hope that I'll be able to hit on something for everyone. If not, I do want you to know that NVIE does offer to have me, or maybe even others as far as that goes, come in and be able to help you more personally, or your company, and come in and do things on a custom-wide basis, or something where this would normally be maybe a day-long seminar or a week-long seminar. It can be done many ways. So I'm going to squeeze a lot into an hour, but instead of just giving you an outline, you go home and you're like, yeah, okay, I didn't really learn what I could do. My goal is this. I've always felt if I heard anybody speak or ever read a book, I just wanted to get one thing that changed my life. And wouldn't it be worth it for you if you went home and you went, you know, that one thing he said, I'm going to incorporate that. That really got to me. That's why you were here. So it's not that you need to get all of this. What I'm going to do, my goal is just to try to keep you awake in between before we get to that part you're supposed to hear. Okay? So if you will, I'm just going to start off with first dispelling a little bit about the sales myth and why everyone, especially leaders in a company, need to know, you know, how to sell. So first of all, let's just talk about what is sales. And what I want to do is just take the definition from the dictionary, okay? And that is that it's the total amount of money that a business or person receives from selling goods or services. Yahoo! That'll help me grow. Good. What's a salesperson? This is even worse. A person whose job it is to sell things. That is the definition in the dictionary. I just thought I'd share that with you. Yes, I hate that as much as you probably would, because it teaches you nothing. So let me just ask you this, in one word. I want you to give me, when you hear the word salesperson, in one word, what do you think? Let's start with Paul, right? All right, what would come to mind? Huh? Growth, okay. How about you, Mary?
Used cars.
Used cars, okay. Didn't say that very positive, did she? Lorraine?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You were thinking this.
On the wrong end of it.
Okay, and what do you think about used cars? Let's expand on that. What one word would you describe a used car salesperson?
Somebody I don't want to go near.
Yeah, I don't want to go near. Okay, very good. All right, Jeff? Pushy. Okay, very good. How about you?
As a former salesman, I see it as a connector.
A connector. Okay, that's a little bit more positive then. Could be a bad connection. We're not sure though, right? Right, Darwin, how about you?
Knows the product well.
Which now?
Knows the product.
Knows a product really well. So you're an expert at selling. Okay, cool. How about you, Michael?
I could be a good one. Facilitator.
Facilitator. All right, what do you mean by that? Expound on that.
Someone who facilitates a needy person with someone who can satisfy his needs.
Very good. So you're talking also connecting to as well. Very good. Which is maybe why you work for the same company and get along. There, yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Evelyn, what would be your thought?
It brings in money to the company.
Okay, brings in money to the company. That would be a good thing, wouldn't it? Because nothing happens till somebody sells something, right? We've all heard that. All right, and I haven't met you yet. What's your name?
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, James. If I was to mention salesperson, what would that mean to you?
Yeah, just simply like a facilitator, someone that makes a connection between a product and the person that's looking for one.
Okay, so making a connection, also feeling that way. Terry, we don't want to leave you out of it. Sales, what do you think?
I have to say, having owned my own companies, sales is all about growth and sustaining your company.
Okay, very.
Sales, you got nothing.
Okay, got it. Paul, what? You had something to add?
My answer, because I was influenced by the seminar. My real answer is problem solver.
Problem solver. Okay, very good positive view. So it sounds like what I'm hearing here is a little bit of a mixture. Some get a little bit of the negative side, some kind of get what sales, person should be. How many people know there's a lot of salespeople out there on the positive side? We don't see very many of them. Am I the only one that has trained thousands enough that like 99% of them don't get what sales really is? In other words, you see them a little bit more as pushy and more toward the negative side. Does anybody disagree with that in general? So if that's what most of us conceive of it, and we're in business even seeing some positive of what sales mean, doesn't that mean that we need to think a little bit more about how we are perceived to somebody we're talking to? Because chances are they have a negative view of sales, which is a lot of the reasons why we don't want to get involved in sales, because we don't want people to look at us and go, stay away. Does that make sense? So what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about labeling. And we label them because of our experiences, usually bad instead of good, because they're not making the connection, they're not facilitating. And, we talked about the car salesman, right? How about the door-to-door guy, or the last person that tried to upsell you and cross-sell you, where you went in to get one thing and they want to sell you everything else. It's like they're not listening to you. And how about the telephone sales rep? It's like, how'd they get my cell now? I mean, nothing is safe. I get these phone numbers, right? You 800, I had one today, right? I'm going, what? And you're like hanging up, and then you're not on the no-call list, so they call again. So now you got to stay on and talk to them and tell them to put you on the no-call list. Am I the only one that gets these calls? Okay, I'm just checking. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't alone. So we all know, and we might even have a salesperson in the family we have to deal with at holidays all the time. It gets even worse. All right, so here's the thing. I've never been one for labels, and too many impressions do get conjured up based on our own experiences. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to give you a little bit of something I'm going to answer more at the end of this talk. And I'm going to give you some words that kind of came up in my mind that were like, oh God, stay away. Okay? The first one was the word Christian. I don't mean that in a negative, you are one. I'm just saying when I hear that word, how about this? Can you imagine a person who was atheist and Jew and then became a Christian? Oh God, that'd be worse. Because I don't know what this guy, he's going to try to talk me into something. I'd be concerned about people. Salesperson, we already talked about that. How about, here's a good one. How about Amway distributor? Oh, look at that, everybody's laughing, right? It's like, really, an Amway distributor? Okay, cool. I remember getting talked into coming to meetings, and there was a whiteboard, and he asked me to come for lunch. Some of you nodding your head. Asked me to come for dinner, and there's a whiteboard, and I got circles drawn all over my face, and it was, and I got a better one. How about an Amway distributor that became an Amway distributor instead of doing a multi-million-dollar recording contract with Atlantic Records? How stupid would that be? I'm just throwing some weird stuff out there, but let's pick one more. How about, let's see what would be a worst one in sales. How about a bill collector? Because they're in sales, right? They got to talk you into a bill, right, that you don't want to pay, you can't pay, don't think you're supposed to pay, right? All right, I got a better one. How about somebody that sells bill collection services? Okay, we'll answer those later. But anyways, I'm just saying, they're out there. So it creates this impression with us. So what I want to do is this. In giving you something that will be of value to you, that you can take home, I'm going to have, and you should have in front of you, and I don't see them, so do we need to get them passed out? You can keep them out in front of people. Thanks, Mary. Life lessons. And I call them life lessons because my goal is this. If I teach you something to do that only works in your business, you don't really own it. You're just doing it as a gimmick, and the people that you talk to are not going to see you as sincere. So I call these lessons life lessons because this is something you should do with your wife, your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, your friends, your kids, your family. It should be something you do in all of your life. And if you buy into that and you think that's the right way to do stuff, then you will be sincere with your customers, the people that you deal with in business. So that's why I call it life lessons. Now, how do we learn about life lessons? I got to incorporate that in my life. Then you'll utilize it. And the more you utilize it, does anybody want to guess the last one? Okay, just thought I'd do a little test. Internalize it. And when you internalize it, most of us understand that to be the fact that now this is something that's a part of you. You almost don't even have to think about it. It just becomes a part of you. What I have found in most of the people that I have shared with, they'll realize stuff, they will for sure memorize it, they'll utilize it, but I can tell they're not sincere because they haven't really internalized it. It's not something they really believe in. It's almost a gimmick when it comes to sales. It's almost like, I'll give you one idea. If you're in sales, you'll get this. When I handle objections, how many of you ever been taught this? Repeat the objection back to the individual. How many have heard that? Okay, yeah, it's almost everybody. Now think about that. How dumb is that? He just stated something to you, and you're gonna say it back. So what you're saying is what you just told me. But we buy into that. And so the thing is, we really haven't internalized it because we haven't really thought what I'm sounding like to this person, which is now a salesperson, which is, in the labeling sense, the negative side of it. So I actually have a fifth level that I call eternalizing, which I don't have time to get in today, but it is probably the most important thing. And that's where when you learn it and you internalize it so much, you're giving it back to the world. You're sharing what you've learned with other people. That's what I'm doing here today, is giving back the things that I have learned. And I think when you eternalize things, now people see you as somebody totally different, somebody they want to have in their life for a long time, because you're and it's not always about being so serious all the time. It's about having fun with people, but it's also about you're sincere about what it is that you say. I think this changes the image more than anything else. So with that, let's hit life lesson number one. Life lesson number one is this. You can fill in on your sheets that you were handed out. Everybody got one? And that's these two words. Leave people feeling better, is the two words you want to fill in, about themselves after they have met you. Leave people feeling better about themselves after they have met you. I'll give you a perfect example of this. I play piano. I've been a professional keyboard player for a lot of years. It's one of the things I enjoy to do. You like to golf? I do too, but I'm just not as good as I am playing piano. And I'll give you an example just to tell you how this worked. I had a blues band back in the Midwest before I moved out here. And I got to know a guy by the name of Pinetop Perkins, who's considered the best blues pianist in the world before he passed away at 98. And we became friends. And I really admired him because in his 90s, he was still playing concerts. And he would come out to see our band play every once in a while. And this one time he came out, and he'd sit out in the audience, and when he's done, of course, this guy's a star. He's a Grammy nomination for, what is it, Lifetime Achievement Award in blues, And I went out to Pinetop. I said, "Come on, man, you got to get up there and play for him, Pinetop." And he looks at me, he goes, "I ain't following you." Now, you don't think as a piano player that was a stupid, like really high end, like a compliment that was like, yeah, but I'm like, get your butt up here, And but that's something I remembered for a long time. Why? Because he made me feel better about myself after he had left. And I never forgot him for that. And at 98 years old when he passed away, he had played up to 2 weeks before that, was still playing concerts. And so on my first CD, one of the things that I had is I had a song called Pinecone that was dedicated to him. So this is how you can change lives, and people want to be in your life. Because if they want to be in your life, they're going to want to be around your business. They can be part of helping you grow, whether they buy from you or maybe recommend you to somebody. It's not always about, a lot of times we tend to hold ourselves, if we're in business, to just the people that can help us. That's not really living life the right way. It's about people that we can help out each other, and it may not be they're always your customer. Please remember that. Because there are people that I have connected with that have recommended me to do things, whether it's play or speak or whatever, that have just totally turned my life, that never bought from me personally. But they were good influencers for me to go to. Okay, so good thing to learn. So what is sales really? Well, my favorite one is Harvey Mackay, who's a New York Times #1 best-selling author, and he said, he said, to me, job titles don't matter. Everyone is in sales. It's the only way we stay in business. And I like the way that's stated because it is true. You can say nothing happens till somebody sells something, but it's the only way we stay in business. So sales is simply this, and this would be my definition, and then I'll give you the definition of a salesperson. Sales is when you help another person solve a problem that betters their life, their business, and their future, and you both feel it is a win-win decision. Then you have sold correctly. How we get here is what the phases of selling that I'm going to share with you today will teach you. This will be in more detail, obviously, in a full-day seminar, but I want to give you some key pointers so you take this home. I would highly recommend you take notes because otherwise you will say. And if it's the 10% that sucked for you, I'm sorry. So please, I would recommend you take good notes. I might say something intelligent. A salesperson is simply this. It's the person that helps solve that problem and continues, this is the key, continues to be directly or indirectly involved with making sure that their customer is happy while continuing to look for other opportunities to help them grow their business. And yes, I will send these comments to you. If you email me, I'll make myself available to get these to you. This should be done by continuing to ask questions about how it is going and recommending their company to others. Little side comment. If you can't network them to people you know, then they should not be your customer. I think a lot of times we accept customers just because they can be sold. I look at my customers a little bit more specifically than that. I want somebody that is going to be a longtime supporter of me, and I can be of them because how they do business. In fact, when I sit down and I talk with a potential customer, I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me. And I tell them that up front. And you know why I do that? Because number one, it's sincere. It's exactly what I mean. I'm not sure I want them as a customer. I have hired customers before, hired probably wrong, sold customers before, that I've fired because they weren't everything they told me. I misjudged them. I like to try to start from a standpoint of believing in people, but I'll actually sit down with somebody and I'll say something like, you know, John, I just want you to know I appreciate the time you're taking out. I hope you appreciate the time I'm taking out too, but I just wanted you to know, as much as you're checking me out, I'm doing the same with you. So can we do this? Can we at least agree to be honest with each other? If there's something we're uncomfortable with each other, let's just be honest enough to tell each other, because let's say we start deciding we want to do business together and I see something that's happening in your business that's wrong, and I think, well, I don't want to make you mad. Wouldn't you want me to tell you if I saw something that was happening in your business that was hurting you? Wouldn't you want me to be honest? Okay? Then I'll promise I'll be honest with you. Is that all right? Well, now where can we take this conversation? Now there's not all this. Now, let me ask you this. When's the last time a salesperson talked to you like that? How about a used car one, right? Now, if this car isn't for you, just be honest. Just tell me. No, they're like, how's this baby? What can we do to put you in this one today? Right? It's like totally opposite. I know we're taking it to the extreme, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter what your profession is, you're in sales. So let's do this the right way. Let's just be honest from the start and call them on that. It's about doing things with integrity. What that does is that positions you as not a salesperson, but as somebody, and this is the key I'll be getting into, that helps people, because that's really ultimately what it's all about. So what I want to do is I want to ask you a little bit about how you're going to take care of your people first. A lot of times we think about life as how this is going to help me instead of thinking how this will help our people. Whether your people are the ones in your company, whether they're your customers or clients, or people you run through the day. And I'm going to tell you about a book. It's called Purpose-Driven Life that I read. And I remember I picked up this book because it was like this multi-million-dollar seller, and I was like, I'm going to get my purpose in life. I'm going to find out what my purpose, because we all want to know our purpose, right? Am I the only one that thought that at one time or still thinks that? Okay. And I'm getting ready. I'm all like geared up for the book. I'm going to find out my purpose now, baby. And I open up the first chapter. This is the first sentence. It's not about you. And if I can say so in a seminar this way, I was like, shit. What do you mean it's not about me? Come on. And it was probably the best life lesson I ever got, because it had me realizing that every one of you has talents and passions you've been given. I don't care where you've been given those by, some supreme being, God, yourself, your mom, or your dad. It doesn't matter. But you've been given talents and passions. And you're supposed to use those to help other people. That's why you have desires and stuff. And if you don't identify with that, it's always about you instead of about using what you have to help others. There are people in this room that do that. And if you're that person, people can tell. It'll totally change. You'll never be looked at as a salesperson ever. Maya Angelou said it best. She says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. I remembered I used to think it was all about your actions speak louder than words. She took it way beyond that with that statement. Because it isn't about what you do or say. It's about how you make people feel. Now we can talk, because some of you in here are probably more the accountant type, engineer type, where you're like, I need the details, just give me the details. I need the details. That's how I operate.
Well, just understand 10% of the people don't act on the details. So if you want to miss 90% of your sales, just be a detail person. You can tell I'm not, which is why I need detail people in my life, because that's your talent and your skill. But if you're going to relate with people, you have to sometimes set that aside a little bit and get to know them. You know, we could talk, and this is probably the only time Jimmy's ever been talked about, who's behind the camera right now. I got to know a little bit about Jimmy. You can use this in your promo if you want. Okay. And so I found out, and he told me about him being Japanese American. He told me about the struggles when he was a kid, and he was going into some different stuff with that. And we talked about how my music side could maybe help his marketing videos, and he doesn't have somebody that can custom do that. We learned all that in about 5 minutes of conversation. How many know, and so Jimmy understands too and stuff, if he didn't get it already, how many know I was selling Jimmy? But did you, honestly, Jimmy, did you feel sold? Say it so they can hear you, because they can't. Not at all. Not at all. And why? Because I was sincere in just wanting to know about Jimmy. I was sincere in just wanting to find out, because I think being able to run a video camera and put all that stuff together, I just don't get that. I can like edit video, I can do music stuff, but the actual taking of it and knowing the lighting and stuff, I don't get that stuff. And I like to connect with people that are kind of artistic and creative that way. So I really wanted to know about him. I had no intention on selling him. But he, without me asking him, in that 5-minute conversation, or the 5 minutes throughout the beginning of this that we talked on and off a little bit, do you remember what you said to me? Did I give you my card, or did you give me yours first? You gave me yours. How many times when you're in a sales position do the people go, please take my card, help me? Hey, take my card, you got to call me. We got to get together. So my goal is when you're in a sales situation and you're thinking you got to, how many have heard this? Close them. Oh, I got a better one. Always be closing. I love Zig. He's one of my favorite people. I've learned more from him than I can tell you. I mean, he's just amazing. Before he passed away, he's just big influence in my life. But the one thing about him, when he was always talking about closing, I've just felt like there's a part of closing that shouldn't happen, and that is to close. If you know what I'm saying by my animated definition of it. I think people should actually say to you this: so what do you think I should do? Well, what do you think my next step is? That's what should happen. How do you get somebody like that? That's what the phases are going to be about. So I wanted to just start off with that a little bit. So let's start with the first phase of selling. All right, I call this setting goals and making a list. Now, what I mean by setting goals, I'm going to give you a little bit example of this. There is a lot of ways to set goals. You might be have a goal, like say you're a part of the NVIE team here and you're a project manager. Your goal might be saying, you know, I got to identify who my clients are that are my best clients to sell. Who can I, and let's change the word selling, let's just get that out of to help. Because that's really ultimately what it's all about. That's why I like NVIE. They really truly help businesses grow. And that wasn't a paid thing, that's from my heart. I've been around them long enough. I've known Terry for a while. And so I've realized they really want to help you. And that's why they've succeeded. That's why they've changed the economic climate in this area for over $1 billion for the companies that they work with. So the thing is, what I see is it's about helping people. So if it's about helping people, you got to know which people you want to help. You know, if you want to know how to market your business, you've got to identify who your target market is. The question I know you might have is, how do I know which one it is because it's so broad, or how do I know what to focus on? And that can be a little difficult. So I want to show you something just a little bit briefly first about something that, and Mary actually, who's with NVIE here, and she was welcoming you in, showed this. She showed it actually in a 4-step process. I'm going to kind of show it in a 9. But it's basically the same thing. And it was really funny when I heard her speak, because I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely it. There's 2 parts of how you decide what you want to prioritize with your goals. And one is the impact in your business. And the other part is that it'll either be hard task to do, a medium task, or it'll be extremely easy to do. Can you all see that? Wait a minute. There you go. Okay, now we got all of you. So here's what I would suggest. Your first goal is to always prioritize the people that you're making on your list, or this project that you're working on. You want it right here. You want to start with ones that have the biggest impact on your business and are the easiest to get done or the quickest to get done. I don't say that that should be your entire business, because there are some things that you're going to want to put in that pipeline of sales that are going to also maybe fall where, well, it's medium task, but it's still got the greatest impact. This is high impact, this is low, this is medium here. So that's good. This is also good here. It's easy to do, but might have a medium impact. But you pretty much want to keep them in that area. And the reason is because I see people working on projects they're really excited about, but it's difficult and it's detailed and it'll take you 3 years to get it done. I think there's a balance in every business. I've talked to too many that have ended up where 80% of their, I came from a company that 70% of their business was with one client. How many know that is not a good thing? How many knows it happens all the time though? All the time. And because, you know, we even start businesses because, oh, I got clients. And really you have one good one. And you need to make them 10% of your business as fast as you can, which means you need to know how to sell. Oh, help. Okay. So don't you want to help people that are easy, that have the biggest impact on your business? So make that kind of just a general thought about this is how I'm going to do that, okay? Now, in making the list, what I want you to do is make sure you never prejudge anyone. I'll give you a car salesman story from a car sales guy that actually showed up at one of my meetings. And I'm proud to say he's continued to be #1 for a lot of years. What you want to do is not prejudge people. Don't judge a book by its cover. And he told me a story once. He said, because the way salesmen work, you know, you've been a part of this when you walked up to a dealership, right? They're like, oh, like, go away. And this time they all went, oh. And this guy was like old farmer, beard, dirty, fingernails all black. Got a what do you call the jeans with the bib overall? Yeah, bib overalls, right? He got dirty mud on the shoes. He's walking in. They all just span. Well, this one salesman, the guy I was talking to, said he was inside and he was doing something else, cleaning up the car. And he looked at the guy. He walked right up to him. How you doing, sir? Welcome to so and so forth. How can I help you today? Anyways, long story short is, the guy bought from him a beautiful pickup, $65,000, and pulled the cash out of his pocket. And all the other guys would go, what? And then of course they're just what, making the excuse, you know, well, you know, I was busy, I wasn't feeling good, I knew I wasn't going to sell. And then people make excuses for not selling. Don't judge a book by its cover. Look, there was a time in my life when I had an afro out to here, okay? I mean, yes, I inhaled. And, you know, I mean, I had somebody look at me when I was 21 and went, hey, you could make it in business. I believe in you. I was like, really? That was really, for those of you who don't inhale either. And, or didn't. So, here's the thing I want to tell you once you get your list made. And I found, by the way, this is 95% of why sales fail. So please don't miss this point. I have found that when I talk to people in my seminars, I have to spend more time on this than any. I'm going to ask your opinion. I want just anybody want to spout out an answer. Do you think it's possible that if you know for a fact, you've done your studying, that there's a husband-wife team that own a business, and you know they're 50-50. They always do things together. Everybody that's sold them before is, oh yeah, you need to talk to both of them. Or it's a partnership in a business you're selling, and you know it's 50-50. It ain't one guy's got 60% of the money. You know they're equal partnership. How many, believe you could have two decision makers you need to talk to? How many believe that? Show of hands. Okay, I've got about half yet. Now the other half believe not. And they would be right, not you. Let me give you lesson number 1 to never forget about sales. There is always only one decision maker. And if you are not talking to that person, chances are you are probably always talking to the one that's not. They know how to play the game. Go ahead, Paul.
If it's male, female, it's the woman.
Pardon me?
If it's male, female, it's the woman.
It's the woman. You know what's funny? I wouldn't say always.
Not always.
Not always, but I did. I talked to a video company in Indiana once, ironically, Jimmy, and he was like doing the whole thing, and he was talking. He was the one, and yeah, hey, this is, I just don't know we should do this. I don't know, this is going to be enough. And for a long time during the whole conversations we had, I thought, yeah, he's the guy. And the wife was in on the meeting, and but honey, I think it'd be, good. And she was almost kind of quiet, and a little mealy-mouthed about it, And he finally came back to the final meeting. I said, hey, we got to figure this out. What can we do? You guys ready? And he goes, yeah, I've just decided we're not going to do it. She looks at him and says, You have no clue what you're talking about. Mike is going to make us so much money. Mike, we'll do this. I'll talk with him later. Oh, whoa! So I'm glad I didn't tick her off. Here's my point. It doesn't mean you don't want to have the influencer in on the meeting, but you must determine who the decision maker is before you start setting up meetings. Because if you come in here and they're there, do you really want to trust that person taking your company's products, whatever, going to this guy going, hey, it's only 50 grand? Because that's how they're going to present the thing you just spent 3 hours presenting. Go to the decision maker. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you think, oh, I can't get to them. They're too hard. They're impossible to get to. Let me share with you another experience happened to me when I told somebody that. This guy owned 72 Applebee's, and we were trying to do some advertising with this guy who was selling advertising, okay? And I told my boss at the time, I said, I can't get to this guy. Come on, he owns 72 Applebee's. And he said, really? Okay. He picks up the phone, looks at his phone, he goes, yeah, Mary? This is the GM of one of the Applebee's in Indiana, right? And he frequents it. Mary, yeah, it's Rick. Hi, how are you? Good. Hey, listen, I got some things I need to call corporate about. I forgot. Where did you tell me they were? And she goes, well, they're in Louisville. I said, yeah, you got their number? Yeah. And what was the owner's name? Thanks. Okay, thanks, Mary. Hey, we'll see you for lunch soon. Okay, bye, hon. Calls up, it's in Louisville. I'm thinking, yeah, how you getting to this guy? Yeah, all right, you got his name. Lucky. You're right. He picks up the phone, he goes, yeah, Jane? Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is Rick. I'm going to change the name to protect the innocent. Yeah, this is Rick Smith. Yeah, just call him for Don. Yeah, no, just tell him it's Rick Smith. Thanks. Now it goes to the gatekeeper, right? It goes to the secretary. Yeah, hi, Jane. Yeah, just call him for Don. Just tell him it's Rick Smith. Oh, no, he's never known him. But she didn't know that because of his positiveness of how he made the phone call. Yeah, this is Rick. or this is Don, right? And he goes, Don, hi, listen, we've never met before, but the reason I'm calling you, I know this might be a bet, and he does his little thing, comes up with a compelling reason, he gets a meeting. He hangs up the phone, he looks at me, and he goes, so that was hard? And it was a great lesson for me because I realized that if you have a compelling reason and you have the confidence and you have it planned out and you've worked on this and practiced it like anything else, right? You can get to anybody you want. In fact, most of the decision makers nobody gets hold of them because everybody's scared. There was a book out back in the 70s, I think it was, Marketing to the Affluent. And these people who were the really wealthy, 100 millionaire, billionaires and stuff, they said, yeah, nobody ever talks to me. It's like I'm untouchable. I'd love to get a call. I'm serious. You'd be amazed how many of them would actually like a phone call. You just got to figure out a way to be creative. So don't accept that excuse from yourself. Now, the next phase is appointment setting. And some people say, why would that be a phase? Because what I found out is that if you're not going to look like a salesperson when you make an appointment with somebody, then you have to think about how you're coming across when you do call for one. Now, here's what I would recommend. Unfortunately, with emails, texts, there is so much where we're not actually communicating with the person. How many of you, like me, have kids that the only way they answer you is if you text them? Am I the only one doing this? Okay, good. Just wanted to know. If you have an answer to that one, I'm going to put you up here. You can seminar that to me. And I'm like, you have a phone. Call me. Ain't happening. They like to text. So I've had to get good at this stuff. Or I'm an Apple, so I do one finger. Listen, don't let that replace the in-person contact, okay? Because that is always going to be more effective, and you're going to hold your meeting better. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to, number one, learn how to research. I'm going to take a step back before the appointment. I want you to learn how to research the company or persons, or person and companies you're going after. One advantage of technology these days that's huge is that there is so much information out there that you can get, that you can find out ahead of time before you call somebody. And I'll give you a little bit of an example. We're not connected to the internet here, are we? Or no? It's not a big deal. I'll give you an example. You go to a website, okay? You all know there's an about page, okay? I remember going to a website here, I forget which company I was looking up just to see if it was just typical of everyone I've ever looked at. It was. You go to about, it gives you the history, right? Sometimes in about, it'll also say there'll be a drop-down menu that says leadership. Would leadership be important if we're looking for the decision maker? Just wondering. Okay, CEO, owner, the one you don't think you can get to. And they have a bio sometimes. You can read about his history. Do you know where the best bios is outside of the website? Anybody want to guess what site? LinkedIn, absolutely. If you're not a member on LinkedIn, have created a really strong profile, do it. It's credibility, and now you can look anonymously. If you don't know how to do that, let me know, I'll help you, so that people can't tell you're looking at them. I know you think about that. Let's give you an example. I'll use LinkedIn this way. The reason I like it, first of all, because some of you might buy lists for like $1 a piece, and the emails, you don't know if they're any good. I'm going to LinkedIn because guess who's updating that site? The person themselves. And it might be positioning them for something in the future. They want to be looked at good. Whether they own a company or whether they work at a company, they want themselves to look good, so they keep it updated. The ones that don't, it's okay, so you won't get information that way. But for the most part, people are keeping up on LinkedIn. I mean, they're at 300 million users. That's a pretty good amount. So go there. I will read their about. If you go to my LinkedIn, it's a very complete profile. I have well over you know where it says 500 plus? Definitely. You don't know how many thousands I've got. But 500 plus, you're like, oh, this guy's really connected. You go down further, you can find out things about my history, about where I've worked, what I've done. You will actually see endorsements. People can endorse you for things, though it's not as strong as a recommendation. So I learned I could send out for recommendations to make myself look better because I got somebody real now actually saying, we've used Mike for this and he was really good at that. Well, guess what that also means for you looking at your prospects? You can go to LinkedIn and learn about who recommends them. What are they good at? Why would you need to know that? You're trying to find a common piece of information to talk to them. Because if you just call up as a salesperson, hey, listen, I got this really cool idea. Sorry, I know I'm exaggerating, but isn't that a lot better? You know, John, I appreciate you answering the phone. I know you're busy because mine is too. But I tell you what, be honest, I was sitting here reading your LinkedIn profile and I noticed you were into hunting. And I got to tell you, I'm a huge hunter. And I said, we got to get together and talk about that sometime. But listen, I've got some business and stuff that I'm doing, or however you're going to do it. But it gives you some piece of common ground. I'm not a hunter, by the way. It gives you some piece of common ground to talk about with them, something that's of interest. Now, what else does a website do? You can also find out about what the company is promoting. They usually have 3 or 4 things. And those 3 or 4 things are the things they're focused most on that make them the most money. May not be, because they're not organized on their website, which is why you go to NVIE to find out about their growth services. I'm not the only one that helps you in growth services. They can help you with websites. I've connected them with somebody who's a good friend of mine that has worked really well, that we're working on projects starting out right now for a manufacturing company. This guy says, oh my gosh, I could bring more business in than what this guy ever knew. And I don't just mean SEO and SEM if I'm not losing you on keywords and stuff like that to get them to the website. I'm talking about forensics, where we're discussing some ethical legalities to make sure that we feel good about it. But there's actually some really huge companies using this where they know who came to the site based on their ISP. They can get the business name. Now, you don't call up, say, hi, we noticed you were on our site and got off. But so we got to figure out how we're going to make that work. But there are so many things you can do with websites you have no idea these days. So what I want to do is help you understand one thing. Use the research that is out there. It's a huge amount of stuff. I will even go as far into their website to find out maybe who their partners are, find out where they're located, how many facilities they have, because it helps you create the one thing you're going to need on the appointment setting, and that's this: a compelling reason why they want to get together with you. Now, what do I mean by a compelling reason? It's really simple. If you're calling just to sell them something, then they're going to feel that, they'll know that, that's not a compelling reason. It might be yours, but they're not going to book the appointment if you don't give them a reason why they should want to meet with you. Now, in working this out, if you've done all the research on them as a person, and you've also done the research on the company itself, you can then formulate a simple, quick 10-second, 20-second conversation when you get them on the phone. And I'll go in more on, if you want to do some more, we can talk a little bit about doing seminars on teaching you how to get past all the objections of everything, with the gatekeeper. But I'm saying once you've got them on the phone, say, John, this is Mike Hepner. I am calling from Nevada Industry Excellence. Just use your company, Jeff, okay? I'm calling from Nevada Industry Excellence, and We have done some really cool things helping the economic development, over $1 billion for the companies we service. But listen, I noticed that you're in the so-and-so in industry, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about your company just to see if there might be a fit in us doing some business together. It's not real salesy, doesn't really say much other than he might ask you a question. Well, yeah, we're not really interested. Or he might say, what do you do? Say, well, that's why I wanted to get together and talk with you. We do everything from lean systems, growth services, energy services. But that's not really about, I actually want to find out a little bit more about you and your company, just to see if there might be a fit in us doing business together. I've heard some good things about you from, that's where you would use a referral to get in, a drop a name. But the appointment setting, what I want you to remember is about this. Never sell on the phone. The minute you do, you're done. And they're already looking for a way to get out of it. So never sell on the phone. Find a way to do a compelling reason and stick to that. Now, we can go over all the objections you're going to get. What's the biggest one? Don't have the time. Well, that's why I called you, John, because you know busy people get things done. And from one busy person to another, you're the one I want to talk to. That's why I called you specifically. Now, I know you have to eat, so it's okay even if I have to buy a lunch. What's your favorite place? Right? Who doesn't want to go to their favorite place? Bottom line is that you might have to have something compelling a little bit more than that, but I'm just trying to give you an overview that, you know, you got to be ready with the objections, but you need to book an appointment in person. You got to call. If they send you to the secretary, yeah, I'll talk to my secretary, she'll put you on the calendar. Okay, John, I appreciate that. Since we've never met before, I always assume people are on their best foot and that they always are a person of their word. You're not doing that to get rid of me. You really do want to meet. And I can count on your meeting if I said it with her. Is that correct? If there's a pause, he was lying to you. And he's now figuring out how to get out of this, or say yes. It happens, right? But that's all right. Well, actually, yeah, I really am. But isn't that better than actually setting up for the meeting and getting ready and sitting there at McCormick's and Schmidt's and waiting for nobody to show up? We never called? So I do want to tell you that you really need a compelling reason where you get their commitment. The other thing is I lock down the appointment, and the way I do that is I say this. I say, John, I just wanted to say to you briefly that I know that your time is very important, and as mine is, and I just want to make sure that I can count on you to be there. Barring any emergencies, and please do give me a call if there is one, I will be there. Can I count on you? Oh, absolutely. No, I'll be there. Don't be afraid to do that with people. If you say that sincerely, you will cut down your no-shows more than you can imagine. You've got to value your time as much as you want to let them know that you value theirs. Now, the last part of this, I want to spend more time than probably anything, is this questions, okay? When I'm finally with somebody, this phase is called discovery questions. I start with personal, and then we go business. And discovery questions are simply this, and trying to think who I spoke to. I guess we could use Jim. Can we use you again, Jimmy? Okay, cool. When I first met Jimmy, he just brought in the video and stuff, and I said, oh, great, you're the video guy and stuff. I've heard a lot of great things about you. Leave people feeling better after they met you, right? And I did, because Terry had mentioned they used him for the video that they've done, and he's a nice guy to work with. So it was sincere. It wasn't just a line. And I said, so how long have you been doing this? Really, what got you started? What kind of videos do you do? You know, and we got into a conversation. Now, let me explain why discovery questions are so important that they're done in the right way and you understand it. I'm going to give you a couple rules on discovery questions. Number one, start with personal, because you need to break the ice with somebody. Before you get into talking about business, see, if you go straight to business, they'll think you're just there to sell them. But if you start by, and sometimes it gets into business talk kind of right away, I'll still pull it back to personal. Because there are things you learn about somebody. I'll give you a good example. We had one of our people at NVIE take me on a meeting to go meet one of the facility managers of one of the very large casinos in this area. I'd never met him before. And this person knew about the program that we were selling and was very familiar with it, had been through it, had even graduated from it, and things were going really well in our conversation. And yeah, we've done some things. He says, oh, that's cool. And I looked at it, and I saw this picture of him golfing, and I saw his picture behind him of with his kids playing baseball. Now, here's what a salesman does, so I can separate out the pictures in the office thing. Salesman does this. Oh, you golf? No, I just took the picture just so you could say that and look like an idiot. That was a joke. I don't do many jokes, so you have to, okay. And this is why I didn't do stand-up comedy. And the next thing is they'll look at the kids and go, oh, you got kids? It's really bad when they haven't changed the picture from the frame that they bought at the store and it's somebody else's kids. It's just a picture to sell okay. So what I did is I looked up and I said, looks like you like baseball. Oh, yeah, I do. I said, it's pretty cool teaching your kids. He said, yeah. He said, well, actually, as soon as I was interested, I did what you do on Discovery Questions. Instead of just the surface stuff, I started what I call drilling down. I did this with Jimmy. I didn't just say, oh, you do video? Oh, that's cool, and went and get a cupcake. No. I want to know. I really want to know about him. So I asked him, and so he looks at me and he goes, well, actually, as I was a kid, I had a really good arm. I said, oh, pitcher, really? Well, when you say good, I've not heard people usually compliment themselves that easily. So beyond the fact that you're not modest, what do you mean you had a good arm? See, most people would stop there. Oh, that's cool. I used to play baseball too, and you wouldn't believe the teams I was on, and I, right? Because we want it all about us. Stop. It's all about him. Remember? It's not about us, right? It's about him. So I said, you had a good arm. Well, what's that mean? Oh, I used to throw. I said, really? What else? I must have asked what else 4 times. I got lots of stories. Oh, the coach loved me, and I said, all right, so you're a facilities manager now of a major casino. I'm guessing you're not playing baseball. What happened? Well, 12 years old, they wanted to actually start priming me for the pros. And to be honest, Mike, I was scared. I just got scared, and I quit. Now, this is where what changes in your life is you being sincere and really caring about people. The key is caring. And I looked at him and I said, did you ever regret that? And he says, all the time. So I guess with your kids, when you teach them, that's one of the lessons is no matter how scared you are, go after your dreams. He says, oh yeah, I do. And he started to tear up a little bit. What level am I on with this guy now? We're not even talking about selling the program anymore. I'm getting to know him as a person. Now, I tuck that back away, and when we're closing, I can go back and say, you know what? How come you haven't sent some of your people yet to our program? I don't get it. You told me, you taught your kids how not to fear anything. Is there something that we've said that's got you scared, or is it something else? Well, honest, it's a lot of money to put out right now. We got some other projects going. So if we can help you figure out the money, do you want them to go through this program? Oh, yeah. Done. I just close that. But I did it from a standpoint because something I learned doing real discovery questions and getting to know the person. Does anybody feel like this is a really bad way to do business? Isn't this the way we should do it? You don't think that guy's going to be a friend for life after time and he learns to respect, and I always come through with the promises and the things that I say I'm going to do, and you got to do your end to earn that respect. But I'm talking about even just getting in the door. We're on a totally different level now. That's the way you should sell. I didn't get that without doing discovery questions to break the ice first. There were a lot of others I could add in that came off of that story too, which was really cool. I probably made the person next to me that was talking about the program really nervous, like, look, I'm talking about my program. But I got to the person. And so all I'm telling you is do discovery questions that way. Now, business, same thing. I was talking with Jimmy. I learned about his video. I learned that he does music with videos. What do I do? Music, right? Okay. I said, oh, do you just use tracks and stuff that are automatic? He says, no, I would love to have some custom stuff done. I said, I do that. You do? I could use that. Because we started going down the road. And I wasn't trying to pitch him or anything. I just let him know I did it. Why did he give me his card? Because there must be something in me that I've eternalized that this is really who I am. I really do care about people. And if Jimmy never calls me, we'll still be friends. One of the things I did say to position myself, and I want to throw that word into the mix before we close up, there's a couple key words. I want you to learn to position yourself when you're asking these questions. And this is kind of how I do my sales pitch without pitching people. What I mean by positioning is this. Positioning is something that you do when you're talking that positions yourself as a leader in the industry that they want to, must do, can't live without doing business with. So I'll give you an example how I did this. We'll just say this would, well, actually Terry kind of did it for me because he introduced me and all the people I've spoken with. That's okay, and it's nicer if somebody else does it to you, but if you're talking to somebody one-on-one, there's nobody else in the room talking about you. So how would I do that? I said, you know, there was one time I was going on stage, and guys, I'm just a little guy. It was Norman Vincent Peale was speaking, you know, and they're making like the buku money. I'm like just a warm-up act. What does that position me as? Humble? Yeah, I was on stage, but I'm not as big as he is. So now I'm a little humble. That's sincere, because that's what I did feel like. I was making this, and Norman was making this, and he deserved it. The next thing I said is this, and I would tell you, I said, you know, I got Norman alone in the green room, and I was just like, this guy's like 90 years old. And I'm like, so, has anybody ever asked you if you could narrow down success to one thing, what would it be? And yeah, I get that all the time. Can you mind sharing with the young kid? And he goes, well, I'll tell you what, I'm working on my 10-year goals. I went, oh God, that's enough. You're 90 years old and you're working on your 10-year goals. I suck. Now I'm positioning myself to you right now. Wow, this guy's gotten to know Norman Vincent Peale and he got advice from that kind of great star. So I'm telling you what I'm doing. But I'm not doing this because it's a gimmick. I'm doing this because this is just experience that I had in my life. And stories teach and they inspire. You just got to know when to pick the right ones that position you. I don't have to go to you and, Michael, you should hire me for your company because I've spoken with Zig. Do you see the difference? So you need to find things that position you as a leader in what you do and find a way to share that. That's not all pitchy. Just put it in between, because right after I say something like that, I'd probably do this. So Michael, tell me a little bit more about your company. Paul, you know, I need to know a little bit more about Lumistar and what you guys are doing, because this telemetry stuff is confusing to me. He didn't know I knew. See, I do my research and my study before I come. I've looked at every one of your websites. High-end, ornamental, lots of stuff, stupid stuff, beautiful stuff. Wish I could afford it stuff. And yeah, these guys design, and telemetry, your video was really pretty odd. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff in there. I don't understand it because but I don't need to. What I do know is you have decision makers. You have decision makers you need to get to. Learn how to target your market. So let me finish up with just a couple things. I want to give you life lesson number 3. You can get everything, there's your word, you can get everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And by the way, that deserves credit to Zig Ziglar. He said that. I'm not that smart. I do steal from the best, though. In fact, Dale Carnegie was right when he said, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get them interested in you. Last thing is, when you're done with a meeting, never leave without setting a follow-up time. I see too many people leaving meetings that, yeah, we'll get back to you. Do not do that. You can get an answer put together with your team in 24, 48, 72 hours. So make it a priority. And this is the way I close a meeting usually. You know, it was great meeting with you. I learned some things about your company. I am so excited that I can't wait to get back and start working on some of the things we talked about. Listen, I need about 24, 48 hours to figure some things out, but let's go before our calendars get too booked up on each other. Let's schedule time here in a couple days we can get back together, because I can't wait to share with you some of the thoughts I'm having. Who doesn't want to get together with somebody like that has befriended them a little bit during that time? So always book the follow-up at the meeting, okay? The next thing is your presentation phase when you get back. I won't go into that detail because so many of us have different ways. Please remember this. I know you're thinking, no way I could do this. Yes, you can. If you've gone over their needs and you found out what they really need and you've identified all that stuff, you know exactly how your product is going to be the solution to their situation or your service, please keep your presentation to 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, no, I need an hour. No, you don't. Anything after 10, 15 minutes, you're selling them. I would even tell you 5 to 10. Because they're already closed if you're doing this right. They've already said, well, what do you think I should do? You know what, John? I'm going to hold off on that because I've got some really great thoughts. I think you can tell that already, but I want to organize them. And I promise I'll come back in 10, 15 minutes. I'll show you exactly what we're going to do. Wow. Who doesn't want to meet with you next? So closing the sale, is to get them to ask, what do you think we should do? The heaviest I get on closing, can I go over about 5-10 minutes? Is anybody in a hurry? I just didn't want to miss a couple key things. Are we good? All right, good. I just didn't want to miss a couple things on this. The hardest you'll hear me close is this. If I'm not getting them to say that, I'll look at them and say, so John, what are you thinking? That's about as hard as I close. So what are you thinking? Well, you know, I like some of what you're talking about, but I got a concern about. I'm just not sure where you want that. It's called an objection. That doesn't mean no, it means tell me more. I don't get this part. I'm not there yet. I'm not all the way with you yet. So what I want you to do is I want you to know how to handle objections. And I've seen this as a place that a lot of people fail and they go back into sales mode again, because this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. When you're handling objections, give me the objection. All right, Darwin, we'll pick on you, right? You got high-end stuff. I'm going to guess one of the objections is, give me one. What's your one you hear a lot? Does too much money enter in? Huh? Yeah, just sure. You should see the stuff they do on there. It's high-end. I'm like going, yeah, that's just too it. And I know you're talking to people who probably could afford it. And you know that if you've targeted your audience correctly, but it's like, this is really expensive for that staircase. Are you serious? So the question is this. Throw that objection at me. I'm going to show you how I do it, then I'll explain what I did. Is that all right? Okay.
Do you have any projects?
I'm sorry, I can't hear
Do you have
you.
any projects? It's a new project. No, it's the other way around.
No, you're going to give me the objection. You're the customer.
Oh, okay.
Tell me it's...
Got this great project for you. Is there where you can help?
No, that's helping. No, we already showed you the project. We're all done. We're down to price. Now tell me it's too much. I give you the price.
How much?
Okay, it's $50,000.
Pretty high.
Pretty high? So what do you mean by pretty high?
Something negotiable?
And when you ask me if it's negotiable, what are you basing that on, that it's too high? I mean, quote somewhere else, just kind of your feel on it, or are you just trying to save some money?
Pretty much just trying to see.
To save money, okay. So we're both in business, right? But you do want to work with us, is that correct? You like what we have. So if we can make the money work or the value of what this is to you, you want to do business with us? Absolutely, you said. That's how you handle an objection. Not, well, what if we took 10% off? Stop. Stop. I'm going to get more money out of him is what you don't know, because I'm going to find out something else he wants. I'm going to tack it on, and it's going to cost me 10 grand to do it, okay? It's going to be a $20,000 item. I'm going to sell it for 15. I'm going to put 5,000 more profit in my bank. I say, you know what? You said you also wanted this door over here, the set of doors. Now, normally that's $20,000 to do it. I'll tell you what, if you go with the staircase, I'm just going to do it for 15, and we'll just call it where we're at. That way you're getting everything you want, and you're getting it for half off, as long as you promise not to tell anybody I did that for you. And put a good testimony that I can use on my website, because people like you, good customers, I want people to, say good things about us. Remember I talked about we'll help your business if you help ours? Now, I already found out during the discovery process that door meant everything to him, but he didn't think he could afford it at 20. And I'm still making an extra 5,000 profit. Anybody understanding this? Is this making sense? Are you feeling sold or helped? Now, I'm assuming a lot of stuff that happened during the process of selling, but I'm saying that's what you do to handle objections. So let me give you real quickly the rules on handling an objection. Number one is hear it carefully and really listen to it. Because when I get the most common objection, which is, well, that's just a lot of money. Does that tell you why? Does that really tell you it's a lot of money? Well, compared to what, and why do you think that? Is that too much money now? I had one person who almost lost a sale because they weren't listening to the objection. And they never did what I'm about to teach you. After you hear the objection, if you noticed, I paused, maybe uncomfortably for about 5 seconds. And I sat there and I went, you know why I paused? Two things. It positions me as not a salesperson because we'll have a tendency to be very defensive right then. Well, what do you mean it's too much? Or the other thing that I do is I'm trying to think of what the heck to say. I give myself time. He's not going to say anything. He laid out the objection. I can go. And all I'm thinking is, how am I answering that one? And so I came back with the idea of what I did. Always clarify the objection after you pause. Remember, I did not say repeat it, so it's too much. No, I questioned it because it wasn't really clear that it was just an excuse or an objection. Well, it was more of an excuse because he was just trying to save some money. But I made him lock into the fact he wanted to do business with us first, and he was really happy. So I just wanted to make him happier and give him something else, as opposed to worrying about cutting the price I had. Any of that making sense to you? So let me go over the steps of handling the objection. Hear it, pause, then clarify it. Ask questions to make sure you're very clear on what the objection really is, and then handle it. Now, do you ever get the one where you do get objections all the time where they're like giving you 3 or 4 in a row? Well, I also this, and this, and this, and this. You can't do more than one objection at a time. So the way I handle that, just so you know if you have that kind of shotgun effect from the guy, is I go, well, John, out of the 4 things you just mentioned you're concerned about, what's your main concern? Well, I just think that. All right, good. Got it. Is that an excuse or is it a real objection? So that's how I narrow it to 1. Then after I'm done with that, I'll say, so is there any other concerns? Well, yeah, I told you that, Yeah, you did. And I'll clarify that. A lot of times the other 3 will disappear because they were just smoke screens anyways. On closing, I've already talked to you about how they close themselves. And before I finish up, I want to talk briefly. Please don't forget the most important phase of selling. It's called referrals. I see so many people drop the ball when they get this. They finally make the sale. It's all done and things are installed and they're happy. They love you. They've downloaded your stuff. Whatever it is that you guys do, they've bought the program. They're in. Why at that point do we not do the thing we're supposed to? How many of you want to continue to make cold calls to people that you got to start the process all over, as opposed to this? Okay, let's pick on Eric. We'll pick on him. All right. So Eric, listen, it sounds like you're really happy with how I can help and work with your business and everything, and I'm excited to start moving this relationship forward. You mentioned to me when we were talking that your best part of your business is referrals. Same with my business and stuff. Look, I've got some paperwork to get together. While I'm doing that, because that's just boring stuff, would you please take a piece of paper, write down like 10 names of people that are just like you, that you feel might benefit from my services, and just, again, I will promise to treat them with respect, not try to pitch them anything. I'll just be the same person, and just at least let them know I'm out here. But, somebody that you would recommend that I could possibly help. Would you mind doing that for me? Great, super. I'm going to work paperwork. When he's done, I'm going to ask him to actually, while I'm there, call 2 of them. Oh yeah, while I'm there. And I do that. Thanks for writing those down. I really appreciate that. By the way, if you were to pick out 2 you're closest to here you think might actually have something right now that you think I could help them with, is there anybody on here you'd feel that way about? Oh yeah, John, we were talking the other day over dinner and really, would you mind doing me a huge favor? And I don't want to get involved in the conversation, but would you mind just calling him while I'm here in case he does have a question? And just say, look, I'm sitting with Mike here and we just worked out this really cool da-da-da-da, and I knew you were looking for whatever. I just wanted to tell you, Mike's a great guy. You should call him. He'll be calling you. In case he wants to talk to me, I can talk to him, but chances are he'll probably just say, yeah, go ahead. And just write a star next to that so I don't forget you've already called him. Would you mind doing that? Because I just got a couple other things to finish up here. Not really, but I'll find something to do if he's going to call a referral for me. Now, wouldn't you rather work from referral to referral as opposed to cold list to cold list to cold to whatever? Take advantage of the ones that are already your customers. I promised to finish up with something that I started up, and I said I'll complete this later, and I'll conclude with this. And thanks for hanging in there a little bit later. I didn't want to miss some of this. And because I really do truly want to respect your time too. I mentioned to you that there was a myth about people, and one of those myths was, I think we talked about Christian people, especially someone who was atheist Jew. Remember that? Okay, that was me. And I'll tell you what, you think you've had critics in your life, you think you've had a rough life, try to go from being an atheist Jew to a Christian. Yeah, that's a fun one. But you know what? If you label people because of what they are, you're taking that from your own experience. You know what being a Christian's helped me do? And I'm not preaching at you, by the way. I'm just telling you, this is just me. You have your own story. You get to share it. But what it's done for me is that I get questions like, why do bad things happen to good people? Or what's your purpose in life? Or how do you really forgive somebody that wronged you or betrayed you? You know, those are tough questions to answer. As a Christian, I get to have those answers. I didn't have them before. So it's been a good part of my life. Being a salesperson, remember I talked about who in the heck would actually not finish college and go into car sales? Me again. Really hard to talk when you're NVIE consultant and you graduated high school with a not great grade point average. I remember speaking to 12,000 people one time. My dad was in the audience and he said, "You know why you had a 1.9 grade average?" I said, "No." And he said, "You know your IQ is 157. I said, "Yeah, but you have to use it, Dad." He said, "Exactly, you were high all the time." Yes, sir.
My next guess, you sold a truck.
Your next what?
My next guess, you sold the truck today.
How did you know? It wasn't even trucks, it was just cars. And they were used. Yeah, I was one of those guys. But I maintained a number 1 and number 2 sales building process that set up my sales consulting year that has grown many sales forces, one as big as 2,000 people. All because I just had the guts to go ahead and just do that. How about being an Amway distributor instead of a multi-million-dollar recording contract for Atlantic Records? Oh yeah, that was me too. You're thinking, what? Are you crazy? I actually, on April 1st in 1981, saw both. And I had just signed up the recording contract the same week I saw somebody showed me the Amway business. Yeah. All I knew was this, the music business was tough. And even though we had the recording contract, and I was honored to get to that point after many years of trying to work toward it, 4 or 5 years, I was at a point where I just thought the Amway business was going to be better for me. You might think I was crazy, but I was able to semi-retire at a very early age because of the money I made in that business and the friends that I still have to this day. I learned a lot of things. I got to speak on stage with all those people a lot because of the connections in that business. So no matter what you think about the Amway business, it was very successful for me. I did things differently than some of the people you know that probably tried to throw a whiteboard on you. I taught the business differently, but that's where I developed the principles for the way that I do business today. And I hate to say this, but that bill collector or the person that sold bill collection services, yeah, that was me too, yeah. What? When I decided to move to Vegas, I had no connections here whatsoever, and that's just the person that hired me. They owned a collection business. They had an A+ rating. I thought I could sell that. Had nothing to do with the healthcare industry, which is what he wanted to target, and had nothing to do with collection industry, and knew nobody in Vegas. So if you wonder if these principles work, you all heard of Healthcare Partners? Second largest healthcare organization in Vegas. Sold them. Never had any collections being done for them to one of their agencies to the only one. To where the C-level person called me up and finally said, "Hey, what do we got to do to get you to do it all? Can we work out a little better percentage? I'll give it all to you." I'm now on the board of directors of the Healthcare Financial Management Association, making that difference. So I guess here's the point. Whatever you do, help people make a positive difference in their lives. And if you do that, you will always be remembered. You will always be revered, whether that person turns into your customer or not. And I really wanted to say I appreciate your time. I hope I've made a difference and helped you with something that you can use and go forward. Terry, thank you. I'll let you close it out, but thank you for having me.